Hello students, in this video we will see module 1 of system software and compiler design, the introduction to system software, and then we will see the architecture of SIC machine. So first let us see what is a software. A software is a set of programs which is designed to perform a well-defined task or function. A program is a sequence of instructions written to solve a particular problem. So there are two types of softwares, as you know, system software and application software. So first one is system software. The system software is a collection of programs designed to operate, control, and extend the processing capabilities of the computer itself. And the system software is generally prepared by the computer manufacturers. These software products comprise of programs written in low-level languages which interact with the hardware at a very basic level. And system software serves as an interface between the hardware and the end users. And some of the examples of system software, we have operating system, very basic thing, everybody should be knowing it. And then we have compilers, we have interpreters, assemblers, then macro processors, loaders or linkers, then debuggers, and some of the software engineering tools. And let us see some of the features of system software. So it is very close to the system, and then very fast in speed, and then difficult to design, difficult to understand, yeah, then less interactive, smaller in size, difficult to manipulate, generally written in low level language. Second one is application software. So application software products are designed to satisfy a particular need of a particular environment. So user friendly. All software applications prepared in the computer lab can come under the category of application software. And application software may consist of a single program such as Notepad for writing and editing a simple text. And it may also consist of collection of programs, example software package, or the continuous software what we are using. So, or example, one more example of spreadsheet package, anything. So some of the examples of application software are payroll software, student record software, inventory management, and just to be very, very simple, we have Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint. And the features of application software, we have, it is very close to the user, very easy to design, more interactive, you can make out. Okay, you can just take an example of any of the office, Microsoft Office application, so you can understand these things very clearly. So more interactive, slow in speed, generally written in high level language, easy to understand, and easy to manipulate and use, but bigger in size and requires large storage space. So system software architecture, mainly in this particular module, we will be dealing more on system software and its machine architecture. So one characteristic in which most system software differ from application software is machine dependency. So system programs are intended to support the operation and use of the computer itself, and application programs are primarily concerned with the solution of some problem. So assembler translate mnemonic instruction into machine code. So this is one system software part. Compilers must generate machine language code, again a system software. OS is directly concerned with the management of nearly all the resources of the computing system. So there are all the examples of system software. So next we will see the simplified instructional computer, SIC, a very, very important topic. So let us see what is this SIC. It's a hypothetical computer system. That means it actually does not exist, but it's a hypothetical one. So why we need this SIC is that it's a hypothetical computer system architecture which is designed for teaching computer system programs. And it has hardware features which are often found in real machines. So that means using this SIC, we can make out, or we can understand, we can learn the system software processing part. So there are two versions of this machine. One is SIC standard model, the other one is SIC XE, that is extra equipment or expensive model. So the object program for SIC can be properly executed on SIC XE, which is known as upward compatibility. That means this is the next version. SIC XE is the next version of SIC standard model. So this is a very frequently asked question, in fact, SIC machine architecture. So the question can be like this: explain the components of SIC machine. So some of the important concepts of SIC machine architecture are memory, registers, data formats, instruction formats, addressing modes, instruction sets, then input and output. So in the exam, you need to explain each of these things. So first, let us go to memory. So it is SIC machine architecture. So here we will see that in SIC, in the memory, we consider one byte as 8 bits as usual. Okay, but one word, we take it as 3 bytes. That means one word is equal to 3 into 8, that is 24 bits. And memory is byte addressable in SIC. That is, words are addressed by location of their lowest numbered byte. So what is this lowest numbered byte? I will explain. But yeah, we will see there are 2 power 15 bytes in the computer memory. That means in SIC, the memory of any SIC machine is 2 power 15 bytes. That is 32,768 bytes. Okay, so let us see what is this words addressed by location. Okay, so let us take one example. We consider each cell as 1 bit. Okay, each cell we consider it as 1 bit. Sorry, it is 1 byte. Each one we consider as 1 byte. So let us name it as the first cell, I name it as byte 0. The second cell I name it as byte 1. Similarly, the next one 2, then byte 3, byte 4, byte 5, so on. Okay, so we have just taken one example where I have some 20 bytes of memory. So 1 byte 8 bits we know, and we should know what is this word here. Since memory is byte addressable, that means words are addressed by locations. So you know, one word is equal to 3 bytes. So the first 3 bytes are taken as one word. Okay, and in this one word, how many bytes we have? 3, and the byte numbers are 0, 1 and 2. So out of the 0, 1, 2, the lowest byte number is 0. So the first word is referred by 0, byte number 0. So the first byte is 0. So the address of the first word, we call it as 0. And then we will go with the next word. The next word byte numbers will be 3, 4 and continued with 5 here. So the second word starts at byte number 3. Okay, so that is why we call it as words are addressed by location of their lowest numbered type. So in the first word, it is 0, 1, 2. The lowest number is 0. That is why we name it as the address of the first word is 0. The address of the second word is 3. The address of the third word is 6, and so on. Okay, so this is what we call it as words, how they are referred to. The second one is registers. So in SIC, we have 5 registers, and every register has an address associated with it known as register number. And the size of each register is 3 bytes. So let us see what are the different registers we have. We have 5 registers here: A, X, L, PC and SW. And each register has a unique ID, we call it as a number as well. So the register A, which is nothing but accumulator, its number is 0 and it is used for arithmetic operations. And the second one is X. X stands for index register, that is 1, which is having the ID 1, and it is used for addressing or calculation of the address. And L, the third one is L, which is having the ID 2, which is known as linkage register, and it is usually stores the return address of the instruction in case of any subroutine or a function using JSUB, jump to the subroutine. And then the fourth one is PC, program counter, which has the ID 8. And this program counter holds the address of the next instruction to be executed. This is very, very important. Program counter holds the address of the next instruction to be executed, because we are going to use all these in the object code generation. Then SW, that is status word, it has the ID 9 and it includes the condition code. The third one is data formats. So in SIC, we have integers, we have characters, but we don't have any floating point representation. So integers are represented as 24-bit format, that is 3 bytes. And then negative numbers also we can have, they are represented using 2's complement. And then characters are represented by 1 byte, that is 8-bit ASCII value, you know. And then floating point numbers are not used in SIC machine architecture. The fourth one is instruction format. All instructions in SIC have 24-bit format. Okay, this is very important, you should be knowing. And we should know that memory size of SIC is 2 power 15 bytes. I have already told this. Okay, so addressing mode will specify in which address the operand resides. Okay, so the instruction format is of this form, that is the first 8 bits will go for opcode. The next 1 bit is for address mode, we usually call it as X. And the last 15 bits will be for the address of the operand in the memory here. Okay, and this X can be either 0 or 1. So if it is a direct addressing mode, we take it as X as 0. So TA is nothing but the address of the operand. We call it as target address. So how to find the target address is nothing but it is just the address of this operand. So directly we will go with the address of the operand. If at all it is an indirect or indexed addressing mode, we call it as X as 1. That means when X is 0, target address is calculated as just the address of the operand, nothing else. Okay, but when X is 1, that is indirect addressing mode, we take target address as address of the operand plus the contents of X. Okay, so this is how we calculate the target address whenever it is an indirect addressing mode. So let's take one example of direct addressing mode. You know, direct addressing mode means target address is nothing but the address of the operand itself. Okay, so let's take one example, LDA, load accumulator with the contents, and the variable is 10 here. Okay, now we should be knowing that of course, yeah, in the exam they will give you the opcodes of all these instructions, but for the time being, let us just know that the opcode of LDA is 0, 0. And this format, we will take it as 8-bit, 1-bit, 15-bit. I mean, like we know that. So the opcode is taken as an 8-bit representation. So what is the opcode of LDA? 0, 0. So we will represent 0, 0 in binary format, 0, 0, 0, 0. Then 0, 0, 0, 0. So totally 8 bits I have. Okay, then X as 1 bit. So load to the accumulator, it is not an indirect addressing method. So X is 0 here. So X is taken as 0, and the 15 bits, the target address, let us assume that this 10 is residing at the address 1000. This is actually hexadecimal number 1000. So in a 15-bit format, how it is represented as, the first one is taken as 3 bits, and next see this one this one is taken as a 3-bit representation. Then next 0 is taken as 4-bit representation. Next 0 is represented as 4 bits, and the next 0 is also represented as 4 bits. So totally we have 3 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, 15 bits here. So how do you represent 1 in binary in 3-bit representation? It is 0, 0, 1. And then 0 is represented as 4-bit 0, 0, 0, 0. Similarly, the next. So the target address is nothing but the address of the operand itself. So what is the address of the operand? 1000. This is a hexadecimal number, you should be know. So the contents of address 1000 will be loaded into the accumulator. So this is what it means. Okay. So let us see indexed addressing or indirect addressing. Okay. So we have one instruction stch, that is store the character. So storing stch buffer comma y. So we should know what is the opcode of stch. It is 54. So 54, how do we represent in 8-bit? Let us see. So in memory, it is taken as 54 is taken as 5 separately you represented as a binary bit, then 4 separately you represented as a binary, 4-bit binary. So 5 is represented as 0101, we all know. Then 4 is represented as 0100. So 54 in an 8-bit representation, you are not converting it to any binary. It's a hexadecimal number that directly we will make it into a 8-bit binary number. So 5 taken as 0101 and then 4 is taken as 0100. Is that clear? Okay. Next, let us take x as 1, that means indirect addressing mode. Okay, and then we will see, let us assume that in the buffer we have the address 15-bit 1000 itself. Okay, now how to find the target address, that means where to go and storing these values. Okay, that we will see. That is nothing but target address, that is 1000 hexadecimal, plus the contents of this x. X is nothing but here register y. Here it is generally taken as x, here it is taken as y. So the address of y, that is the contents at the register y here. So 1000 plus content of indexed register y here. So that will be the target address. Next, we will see the fifth component of SIC machine architecture, that is instruction sets. So we have different instruction sets in SIC. The first one is load and store instructions. That is to load to the accumulator or to the memory, etc. So to move and store data from accumulator to memory and vice versa, we have some load and store instructions. So the first one is LDA, load to the accumulator, load the accumulator with the contents. Okay, we call it as LDA. That means the data is moved from the memory to accumulator. Okay, that means load the data into the accumulator. So that means from the memory, the data will be transferred to the accumulator. Then LDX, the data is moved from the memory to the register X here. Okay, so memory to register X. Then we have STA, the data is moved from the accumulator to the memory. Okay, so S storing. Okay, it is moved from the accumulator to the memory. That means it is just the opposite of LDA. So from the accumulator, the contents will be moved on to the memory. Then STX, the data is moved from the register X to memory. Okay, so these are the 4 types of load and store instructions. Then we have comparison instructions. In SIC, we just have one comparator instruction, that is COMP. Okay, so it is used to compare data in memory by the contents in accumulator. Then arithmetic instructions, and as you know, SIC does not have floating point numbers here. So we will be going with the arithmetic operations only on integers and characters. So it is used to perform, these instructions are used to perform operations on accumulator and memory and store them in the accumulator itself. So some of the instructions we have is add, sub, mul, div, all these things. They are not for floating point numbers. Then we have conditional jump instructions. So they compare the contents of accumulator and memory and then perform the task based upon the conditions. So the instructions are JLT, jump to the label if at all the content is less than whatever given value. Similarly, jump on equal, then jump on greater than. Then the next one is subroutine linkage. So here the instructions are given related to subroutines, that is J sub. We have two types of instructions, J sub, that is jump to the subroutine, and then R sub, return to the subroutine. So these are some of the instruction sets we have. Then the next one is input and output. Sixth one is input and output. It is performed by transferring one byte at a time from OR to the rightmost 8 bits of accumulator. Okay, so each device has 8-bit unique code. We have three types of instructions in input and output. The first one we call it as test device. It tests whether the device is ready to send or receive data or not. So the condition code CC, like what we have already seen. So the CC is used for this purpose. So if CC is less than whatever value, then the device is ready. Otherwise, the device is busy. Then read data RD, it reads a byte from the device and stores it in the register E. And then write data WD, writes a byte from register A to the device.